All right, we are going to do another example of a mixture problem. So let's say Sunny has two brands of puppy food. Brand A has 31% protein and brand B has 25% protein. How much of brand A should she add to 10 pounds of brand B to get a mixture that is 29% protein? So again, I have per, amount, and subtotal. Now my per I told you might change. Before I had price per pound, and I don't have any price per pound. I'm not going shopping here. I don't have prices on things. Here my per is going to be my percent. Your per is always your rate. So if you have a price per pound, that's the rate at which your cost is increasing if you're buying M&Ms. If you've got protein, it's the rate at which you're getting protein. So for brand A, brand B, and the mixture, brand A has 31%. How does that change when I put it in the chart? 31% becomes 0.31, 25% becomes 0.25, and my mixture becomes 0.29. Now it says how much of brand A. That means I don't know how much of brand A, so I'm going to use a variable for A. I could use the letter A, or I can use X, it doesn't matter. So how much of brand A? I need to put a variable for A. Should she add to 10 pounds of brand B? Where does 10 go? 10 is the amount for B, and I don't know how much of the total mixture I have, so I just use Y. Now remember, I have my per, that's my percent of protein now. I have my amount. So let's think about what that subtotal is going to mean. For the M&M example, it was a subtotal of how much the brown M&Ms were worth. What does it mean here? If I have something that is 31% protein, and I have X pounds of it, and if I take 0.31 times X, which just by habit, just if we're following the last example is what we do, what does that number mean? 31% of protein in X pounds of food, that subtotal, that 0.31X, that's how much pounds of protein, how many pounds of protein come from brand A. The 0.25 times 10, that's how many pounds of protein there are in the mixture from brand B. And the 0.29Y is how many pounds of protein are in the total mixture. So take a look at the chart before we go any further. I want to make sure the chart makes sense before we look at equations. All right, so the equations would be X plus 10 would equal Y, because the amount from brand A plus 10 pounds of brand B will equal the amount for the mixture. Okay, also, you're probably in the habit, perhaps, maybe you're not in the habit yet, but you will be in the habit of just taking that third column and making an equation from it, but I want you to make sure that it makes sense. That 0.31X is the number of pounds of protein from A. The 0.25 times 10 is the number of pounds of protein from B, and the 0.29Y is the number of pounds of protein in the mixture. So it does make sense to add those together and let them equal the total. So the first third of the problem was getting the chart. The second part of the problem is getting the equations. As soon as those make sense, you're allowed to move on, but don't move on before then. Okay, so now that we've got those, let's look at these two equations. Would we want to do substitution or elimination? Now, we did elimination last time, so you might say let's give substitution a chance, but this one's also geared up quite easily to do substitution. Why is that? Because I already have y solved for. Very good. So if I take y equals x plus 10, that's in the first equation. I put it in place of y in the second equation. So the second equation becomes 0.31x, that's the same, plus 0.25 times 10, that part's the same, equals 0.29, but instead of y, I write what y is equal to. And according to the first equation, y is equal to x plus 10. Next step is to distribute, so I have 0.31x plus 2.5, 0.25 times 10 is 2.5, equals 0.29x plus 2.9. Now I want variables on one side, numbers on the other. So I'll subtract 0.29x from both sides and get 0.02x plus 2.5 is 2.9. Subtract 2.5 from both sides and I will have 0.02x equals 0.4 or x equals 20. So that gives us x, but we still need to find y. Since we did substitution, there is a very easy place to plug that in to find. We need to see where I had y solved for. and Y is 30. So Sunny should mix 20 pounds of brand A with 10 pounds of brand B, and then she'll end up with 30 pounds of dog food. That is the second example. Make sure it makes sense, and then we'll do the third example in the third video.